most life-threatening elements of any storm is severe rainfall, and the flooding that occurs as a result. Typhoon Nina presented profound evidence of this fact when it struck China and Taiwan in the summer of 1975. As a result of the rapid rainfall, buildings collapsed and lives were ruined, with the Banqiao Dam giving way after receiving almost 5.5 feet of rain in only 6 hours. However, Nina's flooding broke a total of 62 dams, submerging thousands of kilometers of land. Disease also came as a result and caused the death toll to rise even further, adding another 145,000, with Nina's carnage ranking as the 4th deadliest tropical cyclone in history.
The earthquake, measuring 7.8 on the Richter scale, struck early in the morning of the 28th July 1976. The epicenter was right in the middle of Tangshan City in North China's Hebei province. It was a powerful quake, lasting for about 15 seconds, and it was followed by a major aftershock 15 hours later, which itself measured 7.1 and further increased the death toll. The disaster killed more than 242,000 people and left some 165,000 severely injured, making it the deadliest earthquake of the 20th century.
The 526 Antioch earthquake hit Syria and Antioch in the Byzantine Empire in 526. It struck during late May, probably between May the 20th and May the 29th at mid-morning, killing approximately 250,000 people. The earthquake was followed by a fire that destroyed most of the buildings left standing by the earthquake. The maximum intensity in Antioch is estimated to be between 8 severe and 9 violent on the Mercalli intensity scale. The estimated magnitude for the earthquake is 7.0 on the surface wave magnitude scale, and the initial earthquake was followed by 18 months of aftershocks. It has been suggested that the very high number of casualties was as a result of there being a large number of visitors in the city from the surrounding countryside there to celebrate Ascension Day.
And on this day in weather history, December 16, 1920, at 8:06 p.m. local time, a 7.8 magnitude earthquake rocked the Republic of China. The epicenter was in Haiyuan County of Ningxia Province, followed by a series of aftershocks for 3 years. Over 73,000 people were killed in Haiyuan County. A landslide buried the village of Sushiaka in Xishar County. More than 30,000 were killed in Guyuan County. Nearly all the houses collapsed in the cities of Landa and Huang. Damage occurred in 7 provinces and regions, including the major cities of Lanzhou, Taiyuan, Xi'an, Xiying, and Yingshuan. There were large numbers of landslides and ground cracks throughout the epicentral area. Some rivers were dammed, others changed course. Seisures from this earthquake were observed in 2 lakes and 3 fjords in western Norway. It's estimated that over 235,000 were killed, making it the 4th deadliest earthquake of all time.
On November 25, 1839, India was affected by the Koringa cyclone in the harbour city of Koringa in Andhra Pradesh. It killed almost 3.2 lakh people. According to statistics, at least 25,000 ships and vessels in the harbour city were ruined from this monstrous storm. One of the worst natural disasters in the history of India, the cyclone struck the tiny city Koringa in Godavari district in Andhra Pradesh. It destroyed the entire city. It was indeed one of the biggest disasters that shook India.
Years ago, Haiti was ravaged by a 7.3 magnitude earthquake. Catastrophic destruction left over 1.5 million people homeless. Over 220,000 people were killed. More than 300,000 injured. One of the poorest countries in the Western Hemisphere, left in ruins. And a decade later, many are still haunted by the tragedy.
Pour moi-même, journée ça, c'est une plus vieille journée qui est capable d'exister depuis le monde. J'en arrivé pense dans 55 secondes. Par contre, votre corps jamais gagné bagay ça. Et ça crée un petit peu. Et triste, frustrant, et des fois choquant, et des fois même, vous êtes capable de dire, je ne sais pas comment vous êtes capable de dire. Des fois, on crie, je ne sais pas capable de dire ça, des fois, on crie.
Taking the cake for the deadliest tropical cyclone ever recorded, the Bola cyclone hit East Pakistan, which is Bangladesh today, and India's West Bengal on November the 12th, 1970. While the exact death toll is unknown, it is estimated that 300,000 to 500,000 people perished in the aftermath of this storm, making it one of the deadliest natural disasters in recent history. This cyclone was not extremely large, reaching strengths of equivalent of a Category 3 hurricane. The killing power of this storm was almost completely attributed to the cyclone surge, which flooded most of the low-lying islands in the Ganges Delta, literally wiping villages and crops off the face of the earth.
Scientists who have studied the quake believe it would have struck with a force of around 8 on the magnitude scale, and it caused immense devastation over a huge area. Whilst accurate figures are impossible to come by, it's believed that more than 800,000 people lost their lives. This included more than 60% of the densely populated Shaanxi province. The pressure created was so great that in places soil liquefaction occurred. This is a process whereby previously solid ground takes on the properties of a liquid, with disastrous consequences for anything on the surface. Even the most sturdily constructed buildings would be at serious risk of collapse, with their foundations so fatally compromised. And of course, in 16th century China, few buildings were well constructed to begin with. China is crisscrossed by fault lines, and it has been struck by dozens of major earthquakes, some of which have even exceeded the 1556 quake in magnitude. However, the Shaanxi earthquake remains the most devastating on record.
Despite the beauty, it's pretty deadly. It's the most deadly river in the world, I would say. The river's been called China's sorrow, the scourge of the Han people. Before modern dams in 1946, the river was thought to have flooded 1,593 times. It changed course 26 times and severely changed course 9 times. So this is like some major flooding, some big problems for the people. This river has killed more people than any other river in the world. A lot of the deaths have come from famine and from the spread of disease. The 2 floods I want to talk about, the first one happened in 1887. It's estimated to have killed 900,000 to 2 million people. That's the second deadliest natural disaster in recorded history.
This disaster bears a resemblance to the previous Yellow River floods. China is an example of a very old civilization, and many of China's oldest cities are built near rivers. These rivers have flooded throughout Chinese history, but no year was as bad as 1931. In this year, 3 of China's biggest rivers, the Yellow, Yangtze, and Huai, all flooded. Between the actual floods and the problems they created, somewhere between 1 and 4 million people were killed. Even in a civilization as ancient as China, this became the worst natural disaster ever recorded. Rivers throughout the country rose onto their plains, inundating an area the size of England and half of Scotland combined. Around 1/10 of the Chinese population was affected, either by death, injury, or displacement.